Maryland lawmakers debate the repeal of the state's death penalty. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us. Well, an emotional topic is center stage today in Annapolis, the death penalty. Governor Martin O'Malley is pushing to have it repealed. Dozens of people turned out to support him as he testified before a Senate committee. And as Denise Douglas explains, so did his opponents.
In the hallway, even before the hearing started, the debate was on.
And we believe that maintaining a death penalty clearly serves as a deterrent to those who would choose to do harm to law enforcement officers, to try to kill police officers, as well as the citizens in our community.
Percy Alston with the Fraternal Order of Police is against the repeal. Beverly Hawkins is for it.
I think that it is absolutely wrong for us to take a human life, regardless of what that person has done. It doesn't right any kind of wrong. It simply kills another human being.
She and her friend are among the crowd here to support Governor Martin O'Malley. He is co-sponsoring bills in committees in both the House and Senate that would end the death penalty.
In 2011, the average murder rate in states where death is a penalty was 4.9 for every 100,000 people. In states without it, the murder rate was actually lower at 4.1 per 100,000 people.
So he tells lawmakers on the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee that the focus should be on more policing, better technology, and things that work in order to help reduce violent crime.
The Violence Prevention Initiative of Parole and Probation, the networking of our license plate readers, digital fingerprinting technology, these are all things that work, and we should be doing more of them. Repealing Maryland's death penalty could free up millions of dollars to allow us to do more of the things that actually work to save lives.
The House has passed repeal measures before, but they have died in the Senate. The momentum, though, is different this time around, and both the governor and Senate president believes there are enough votes for the repeal to be approved. I'm Denise Douglas, CTV News.
And since 1976, Maryland has executed 5 people. 5 men currently remain on death row. Well, testimony on both sides of the proposal to abolish Maryland's death penalty is always sensitive and emotional. And Monica Bartholomew is joining us now with a look at 2 people who have personal reasons for hoping Maryland is the next state to abolish that ultimate punishment.
Yes, Patty, we see a lot of movies where someone goes to prison, they're sentenced to death row, and they get out and they live their life happily ever after. And that's very tough for a lot of people in reality, and especially for the man that we're talking about today. He's a Marine, a veteran, with a title he never thought would define his life. 52-year-old Kirk Bloodsworth is on a mission to end the death penalty in Maryland and across the world. Bloodsworth was exonerated after spending 8 years in prison, waiting to be executed.
It eats me up sometimes to think that I could have been executed. And it was the gas chamber then.
Kirk Bloodsworth and Suja Graham have one painful thing in common.
When I got out, they called me a victim, and I rejected that. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I've been a fighter all my life.
It's not a day goes by I don't think about it in some way, how close I could have came.
The men call themselves survivors.
I was arrested in August 9th, 1984. 8 months later, I was sitting on death row.
Nothing seemed to mitigate the pain. You can't overcome and put it behind you when you know you're innocent and someone condemned you to death.
DNA evidence freed Bloodsworth from Maryland's death row in 1993. He was behind bars after being found guilty of killing a 9-year-old girl.
I got $300,000 for my almost 9 years in prison. That comes to $3.70 an hour.
Evidence and 4 trials freed Graham from California's death row in 1981. He spent nearly 10 years in prison for allegedly killing a corrections officer.
My mind goes back with great regularity about those that I left behind. There's guilty peoples I left behind. I want to fight for their right to survive as human beings. And there's innocent peoples that I left behind. I want to fight to see them free.
Graham and Bloodsworth are in Annapolis as part of a coalition to encourage Maryland lawmakers to abolish the death penalty and replace it with life without the possibility of parole.
We can secure the state of Maryland, all the citizens, without having to resort to violence to prove that killing someone is wrong.
I don't want them to be so concerned about killing the worst of the worst before they find out that they walked over the best.
If the death penalty is abolished in Maryland, the state would become the fourth to do so since Bloodsworth began testifying across the nation. He's worked with officials in the states of New Jersey, Connecticut, and Illinois, all of which have abolished capital punishment.
And Maniko, is there anyone from Prince George's who actually may be facing the death penalty?
Yes, there is actually a man. His name is Darrell Bellard. A lot of people may remember him. Back in 2010, 4 people were executed in Lanham. And Darrell is actually waiting to go to trial on those 4 murder charges because the state's attorney plans to pursue the death penalty in his case, but because there's still so much uncertainty around what's happening in Maryland, he is still waiting, and
So
it's
the
been
trial's
almost 3
on
years.
hold now?
Yes, trial is on hold.
All right, thank you so much. Well, Maryland lawmakers are on the defensive after meeting in secret to discuss a controversial gun control bill. The Washington Post reports that a bipartisan group of House members, as well as lobbyists, experts, and other state officials, met several times this week behind closed doors. The work group assembled by Speaker Michael Bush is said to be considering some of the nation's toughest gun control measures. The proposal submitted by Governor Martin O'Malley would ban assault weapons, increase the number of mental health patients barred from owning firearms in the state, and require licensing and fingerprints from gun buyers. The bill came up last week in a Senate committee hearing that drew thousands of people and lasted more than 8 hours. The House is scheduled to hold its first public hearing on March 1st. Well, the U.S. economy may be on the mend, but Maryland actually saw a 20% increase in foreclosures in 2012. That statistic from the lieutenant governor, who says the housing crisis continues to be a significant challenge. He joined the attorney general and housing secretary today to announce that the state is awarding nearly $12 million to 39 nonprofit housing agencies over the next 3 years.
We're also here to announce a new marketing program for our HOPE initiative and HOPE hotline. How often do we hear about fantastic programs, benefits and services, yet the intended beneficiaries never realize that they're out there? So we need to have an aggressive marketing program.
Riverdale-based Sewing Empowerment and Economic Development Incorporated, or SEED, is receiving $420,000. The nonprofit, which serves more than 10,000 struggling homeowners each year, will use the grant money to expand its facility and hire additional staff.
We provide housing counseling. We're a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. We also have a child development center. We operate a K-8 charter school. We have a food distribution center and a clothes closet that provides emergency food and clothes.
I paid thousands of dollars. And when I found out that they were not helpful, well, going through the process with the bank, it was just terrifying. It was just terrible. And once I got the seed thing and really got an understanding as to how this actually worked, you don't have to pay money to get your loan modified. You just don't have to.
And to locate a free housing counselor in your area, call 877-462-7555 or find foreclosure prevention resources online at mdhope.org. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.